Hey guys, how you doing? Dave Moore here, coming at you with a Glock disassembly and reassembly video. I figured I would make one because I know a lot of you have questions, especially if you're not too experienced with the Glock. So I'm just going to dive right into it. Ultimately, you only need one tool, and that one tool is open up my MS Clean Kit, which, if you guys don't have one of these already, you're a terrorist. Make sure you go to MS Clean Kit's Kickstarter site and support them in their Kickstarter. They are making a clean kit that is the double, which would be twice the thickness, that's what she said, of the original clean case, so you can fit more accoutrements and you can just fit a lot more. It has a lot more use. So make sure you go and support them. There's only a few days left and they're really close to their goal. So as you know, I like this kit and I recommend all of you get this kit as well. But I digress. So the only tool you need is to get into your MS Clean Kit, or the current kit you have, pull out your Glock tool. This is all you need. This is just a 3/16 inch punch. This one is by, I don't know if it's going to focus in time. It won't, whatever. This is by Ghost Ink. Few doll hairs on Amazon or whatever, or just use a punch or something of similar size. So, diving into taking the gun apart. Step one, obviously, verify firearm is clear. Firearm is clear. Slide forward, drop your trigger, pull the slide back approximately 1/8 of an inch, pull the takedown levers, slide comes right off. Alright, so let's focus on the slide. To take the slide apart, just pull out your recoil spring, pull out your barrel, and the slide is field stripped. For all intent and purposes, whatever the fucking saying is, this is field strip. So if you need to clean the gun, this is as far apart as you need to take it. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to take it apart even further. So I'm going to start on the slide. As you can see, there's a plunger, like a sleeve there, where the striker is. So what you do is you take your Glock tool, relieve the spring pressure by pushing down on that black sleeve, then push up on your back plate. Now keep your finger there because this is under spring pressure, and all of this is going to want to evacuate the slide immediately. So after you did that, go ahead and pull out your striker, go ahead and pull out your extractor spring, and then all that's left is the striker safety plunger and your extractor itself. Let me just verify. Extractor, yes. Now normally if the gun is clean, you tilt it over and just push in on that plunger, it will just fall out. Well, my gun is very dirty, so that won't happen. So what you do is you push on that plunger, then you just got to give it some finesse and some little coercion there, a little gumption, and it comes right out. Now your striker safety spring, tilt over, give it a tap, it comes out. You can pull the spring off of the plunger itself. Slide completely stripped, nothing left to take off except for the sights, but leave your sights on if you're not changing your sights. So there you go. Now most Glocks are a 3-pin system, i.e. 1, 2, and 3 pins. So starting off, you want to remove the bottom pin from the frame here. To do that, grab a hold of your slide lock, slide release, rest your tool on top of it, and then wiggle your slide lock, slide release, and it will come out. Reason you need to wiggle it is it is grooved, and that does capture it, and by wiggling it, you kind of find the hole, as they say, and it makes it come out a lot easier. Then you can go ahead and remove your top pin, push that all the way through. Next, pop out your locking block. Oop, holy hell. Just like that, locking block is out. Now onto the third pin, the trigger housing pin. Just like before, push that all the way through, and now you can lift up your trigger assembly. Trigger assembly is comprised of 4 parts. You got your connector, your trigger bar, your trigger housing, and the trigger spring. So to take this apart, you have to kind of give it a pull and a wiggle, and it'll come right out. It just takes some practice getting used to. Basically then just kind of give it a pull and a wiggle to get your springs out of there. that can kind of be a complicated part rather. So you got your springs out. Now to get your connector out. This is the Ghosting Tactical 5-pound connector. The way to get that out is right there. There's a hole that will fit your Glock tool. Put the Glock tool in it, push, and it all comes apart. So besides the mag well, besides my mag well and my light, this gun is completely taken apart. And that's all there is. And that's why having a Glock is so beneficial, because you can just armor it yourself. Now to put it back together, same way, just reversed. You take your connector, match it up into, there's that slot that you can tell a part goes in. Make sure you pay attention to the way that it was in. That way you don't put it in backwards. But you'll figure it out soon enough. Then you want to take your spring here and make sure that looking at it, it is shaped like an S. Not a big deal, but I kind of prefer to keep it in an S shape. That way I know that it's back in right. And it's just reverse order, putting the stuff back in, trigger housing, give it a little twist and a wiggle. Then I like to hold everything with my thumb. I like to hold the trigger bar onto the connector with my thumb whilst I drop it into the housing there. Then, just to make sure it's secure, go ahead, put that pin in, marry it on up, and then you're good to go. Next part, your locking block. It only can go in one way, so you really can't screw that up too much. Then, after that, you want to put in your top pin. The top pin to your frame, because the spring of the slide lock slide release rests upon that, and you need it in there first. So put that in, make sure that you marry it up properly. There you go. Then you take your slide lock slide release and make sure that the top of this spring is resting on the bottom of that top pin. Now mind you, when you do this for the first time, just kind of take note on how everything is. Go ahead, give it a wiggle and a push, and it will seat that pin in there. So there's that. Moving on to your slide. Basically, just reverse order, put your extractor in. Can only go in one way. Reinsert the spring into your striker safety plunger, drop that in. Now with this part, hold your extractor in place and push down on that safety plunger, and it will pop everything into place. Okay, so there's that. Moving on to your striker and extractor spring. Put the striker back in. Make sure the extractor spring is seated to the extractor bar there. Put that in with the spring facing the back of the slide. Then what you want to do is kind of push down on your striker and get that back plate started. Then with your Glock tool, push down the extractor spring and then get your back plate back on. It will click into place. At this point, you reinsert your barrel and reinsert your recoil spring just like it was when you took it apart. Put everything back together. Function check. Everything works great. So make sure you guys stop by and check out the MS Clean Kit, and subscribe and like, share my videos. If you have any video ideas, let me know and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Keep shooting, guys.
Yeah.